All right, I know I've put out a lot of videos related to Bone Storm, so I figured I should finally put out a Bone Storm video, and when you add on Alter the Balance, you could do this. Welcome to Bone Storm. Roll the bean footage, let's talk about it. There's no way this makes it to live, but it's funny while it's here. For people who have not watched any of the previous videos, we have new chaos perks that are drastically affecting what you can and cannot do with skills. And I gotta say it, while this thing is currently literally melting servers to the point where monsters just stop moving, I hope that they find some good way to make this a healthy addition to this season, because this is beyond cool. Alter the Balance, being a unique chaos perk, allows you to change your ultimate skills to also be core skills. They'll no longer have cooldowns, but they will have very large resource costs. And they also change the base functionality of the skill. For Bone Storm, you can now cast it where you point, and not only that, it only lasts for half of its original duration. Now, that being said, with enough additional Bone Storm duration, these things just last the same amount. And as it stands right now, they're currently bugged, where they both don't work with Lidless Wall at all. But if you actually put Lidless Wall onto your boots, you can infinitely spawn Bone Storms. If I wasn't quite literally drawing down the servers to an absolute crawl every other elite pack, I think that this thing would be absolutely shredding. And even right now, in tier 95, it can clear all the way up to tier 100, but the servers just stopped running once monsters lived long enough to get hit by enough damage instances. So at least for right now, the damage is really good. It has really good single target, it has really good AoE. And the funny part too is that other than the base perk, it doesn't really have other good options. There's not a ton of great things that you can do with Alter the Balance once you're using an ultimate skill, and I'm hoping that they can change out some of these perks to be a bit more synergistic with it. But now that you've either seen the insane kill speed on this thing or watched long enough to notice when monsters just kind of stop moving and stop taking damage due to the server load, let's go ahead and talk about the basis of the build so you can get a better understanding of what it looks like, as well as talk about the planner which I have, which is linked down in the description. Similarly, it's linked to my Discord, and the Discord link is in the description of the video as well, so you can go ahead and check them out there. I'll also be putting the build guide into the pinned comment if that's just easier for you to find. If you think you already understand any part of the build guide, go ahead and just skip around to whatever timestamp you find most valuable to you. I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings. And if you appreciate my willingness to just let you skip around the video and not waste any of your time, consider subscribing to the channel. It would help me out a bunch. Now let's go ahead and talk about the mechanical mumbo jumbo so that you yourself can be playing this to the utmost during the PTR. So again, the perk allows you to cast your ultimate skills with no cooldown with a hefty essence cost. But luckily, we have a temper in the game called casting ultimate skills will restore a metric ton of resource. And if you notice, this number is bigger than the number on the skill. This costs 55, this costs 61. Similarly to that, while we're spending resource, our resource costs will go even lower with Starless Skies, so that we're able to basically spam this infinitely. And not only that, we restore so much resource that we can even go back to using the Cax rune. And since we're casting an ultimate skill at a maximum speed, we have permanent uptime on Cax. This thing just says more than double your total damage. But you'll also notice that we have a bunch of tags on Bone Storm. Most notably, it's also a darkness skill, and we have plus 14 ranks to it. So let's go ahead and talk about how that works, because it's going to be very slightly unintuitive, but we are getting massive damage return on this thing. First and foremost, ultimate shadow aspect is going to make Bone Storm into a darkness skill, which now deals shadow damage. Being able to scale shadow damage is our strongest damage type on the build, so that's already really powerful. And then the darkness tag allows us to dip into one of the chaos armors, which would be Bloodless Scream. Bloodless Scream not only gives you ranks to darkness skills, but also says that your darkness skills will now chill, and they deal 3.4 times damage to frozen enemies, as well as just to bosses continuously. So now that Bone Storm is both a core skill and an ultimate skill and a bone skill and a darkness skill, and does shadow damage, ranks to core skills like on Air of Perdition as well as Starless Skies get you even more ranks. It's still a bone skill, so getting the plus ranks to bone skill as well will help it out from Lidless Wall. We would prefer to be using Lidless Wall on our pants, actually, if we could manage to fit it in, and then we could be using a big two-hander. But again, there's currently a bug where if you put this into a Chaos Armor, it just breaks the game entirely and actually stops doing damage. So we can't currently do that. But that being said, if we could use the Lidless Wall in another slot, we would still get the plus 80% to main hand damage. That's a 1.8 multi just by putting this onto another skill slot. It's absolutely bananas. The other funny part, too, is we're not even getting the damage multiplier from having additional Bone Storms out. So this build is currently missing out on, if I do the math real quick, on 356% damage. That is a total whopping 4.56 multiplier, and that's before we even swap over to a two-handed sword. So this thing is going to absolutely cook. But now that we have all of that down pat, there's just a couple other things that we need to do with the build to be able to push it even further. Most notably, we need some access to Lucky a chance to be able to apply vulnerable so that all of our bone storms will automate that for us. And because we are using a shadow damage multiplier and a vulnerable damage multiplier and a crit damage multiplier, we're able to use very powerful aspects like sacrificial to boost all of them even further. Now here's the funny part. When you do this with a golem, all of your bone storms double on your golem as well. You don't just get one, you get as many as you can cast. So having a golem on your skill bar is actually double the total damage. I did not come up with this. One of my chat members actually came up with this. I had completely overlooked it. Sadly though, it is just melting the servers even further. So I was originally using a golem, but quite literally couldn't play the game. When you add on things like Apogeic Furor, which typically requires you to cycle through casting your ultimate multiple times to get a full damage multiplier, the rate at which we're able to cast this skill, if you look at this buff right here, that's Apogeic, we are casting this so quickly that we are continuously getting all the multipliers. So we'll cast a 1 times multi, then a 2, and then a 3, and then a 4, and then a 5, and then a 6, and a 7, etc., etc. Sorry, it's so loud. But then just tossing on generically good aspects like Grasping Veins to make sure that we're at crit cap, and then making sure that we have Cursed Aura up to be able to activate all of our multipliers from being cursed. And the build is basically just plug and play. You just cast Bone Storm at the minions and then they die. Because we're doing shadow damage, we can use really powerful options like the Witherboard to further increase our shadow damage, as well as grant us additive shadow damage on top of that. We're able to use non-physical damage sources like Abyssal to get even more damage multiplication out of everything that we're doing. It's just very, very strong with a lot of vectors to be able to scale it even further. And then because we are both casting a skill with a cooldown super fast, as well as an ultimate skill, like I already talked about Zan and Cax here, we're actually able to use Yule in Zan, meaning that we're actually able to overpower a significantly large portion of the time, getting another free 50% multiplier. It's actually kind of nutty. And I'll be honest with you, that's it. Like, I'll include the build planner so you can check out this skill tree as well as the Paragon board, because I don't go into excruciating detail here. But because it's a bone skill and a darkness skill, you get to use things like Gloom and Terror and Compound Fracture and Avulsion and Coalesce Blood. And because it's a core skill, you get to use Imperfectly Balanced. This is like the most passives that increase a build's damage out of anything other than maybe Blood Wave. Blood Mist to apply Vulnerable, go Immune, and to be able to move through things very easily. Bone Prison for an even larger damage multiplier and more vulnerable uptime if you don't want to get the affix on your gear. Corpse Explosion, be able to eat your corpses. Reap, to be able to gain even more attack speed, generate corpses on demand, and gain damage reduction if you want to. Corpse Tendrils to pull everything nice and tight so that all of the bone storms hit all of the targets. That's it. That's about as deep as the build guide's going to go, and that's about as difficult as the build is to pilot. Now, this obviously is going to need to be changed in some way. It's not that it's too powerful, it's that it's turning off the servers. You can't physically play the build if you are attacking too quickly, which is, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of funny. Especially when you add on Crazy Brew, which is giving you a megaton of additional attack speed. Once every 10 seconds for 4 seconds, you basically double your total attack speed. And that's when I noticed it gets really, really laggy. But the basis of the build is fun. Casting Bone Storms this quickly is fun. Being able to paint by numbers by casting Bone Storms wherever you want is really, really satisfying. So I hope that the developers are able to find a way to not completely hamstring this build in its entirety, give us a way to be able to scale it this much and maybe just reduce the server load a little bit or find a way of optimizing it, because this thing is absolutely a blast to play. Remember to check for the planner down in the pinned comment. Again, you can join the Discord where I'll be keeping all of these active if you want to be checking them out in between the seasons. And if you appreciated the video and the fact that I got that all done in just about 10-15 minutes, go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. You don't want to be missing out on any of my coverage as we continue to play through the PTR, post PTR when we get the patch notes, and then when we inevitably walk into Season 10. I also keep all of my major guides up on Maxwell.gg. I'm the class lead there for Necromancer. If you've never met me before, you might have seen me on that website. So you don't want to miss out. Click the button. I promise you won't regret it. Leave a like on the video and comment down below. Have you tried anything cool? Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, theories, ideas, different crafts, bugs that you've run into, cool things you think that I might have missed? I'd love to hear from you. That's enough of me yapping. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly, truly hope that it helps, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.